Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. I'm so excited that you guys are still here with me in this journey. Gosh, we have so much to talk about. Today I wanted to talk about Black women in childbirth. I think so many times when we think of systemic racism, we think our mind automatically goes, especially recently, right? Because I think a lot of people have been waking up to so many things and the racism that is just embedded into our country. The foundation has been laid. And unfortunately, we've constantly been building on that foundation, and there has been nothing that has rectified that. I think just a lot of people are possibly opening up to that there are issues that we do have to face and we do have to talk about in order to get through those things and over those things and have empathy, towards other people. When we talk about systemic racism, I think our mind automatically goes to policing, but we don't realize the systemic racism in so many other areas. And today I want to talk about an area of systemic racism that really is near and dear to me because it happened to me. Let me give you a little backstory. So I was on TikTok. Yes, I have TikTok. I was on TikTok kind of going back and forth with this person about systemic racism and just kind of talking about it, short 1-minute videos as much as I can get into that 1 minute. But I was trying to give an example of systemic racism, how it still affects us today in other areas that don't even have anything to do with policing. And I shared the story of my birth with Asher, and it went viral, of course. I talk about funny stuff on TikTok too, but of course the serious thing about my birth with my son goes viral, whatever. I was talking about the birth I had with Asher and kind of what happened. So I'll just talk to you about it really quick. So what happened was I was feeling lightheaded at home, and I asked Shannon, could we go to the hospital? I was 37 weeks pregnant, and it was weird because I was laying down and I was lightheaded, which had never happened to me before. I had been lightheaded before, but not just doing nothing. And so we were like, okay, so I'm thinking we're just gonna go in and get checked up, not a big deal. So we go in, we get checked up, and they run all these tests on us, and next thing you know, this doctor comes in, this white coat, and she's like, yeah, we have to get the baby out now. And so there had been a few things that happened to where they were running tests and they realized that he wasn't getting enough oxygen. So the doctor came in and she was like, we have to get the baby out right now. Like, no induction, no any of that stuff. We have to do a C-section right now. They gave us really like 10-15 minutes. This is a little TMI, but I had to use the bathroom, and they told me I couldn't even go to the bathroom because they would have to take the monitors off of me, and she said, if you have to go that bad, just pee on yourself. I was like, dang, lady. But she said, if you have to go that bad, just go right where you are because we need to make sure that he's still getting oxygen. We have to get him out to save him. Okay, right? What else are we going to say? We want to save our baby. We want to make sure our baby's okay. We get in there, everything's happening so fast. We still have joy. We have a couple friends coming up, whoever could get there first kind of thing, to sit with Joy so Shannon could be in the operating room with me. So much so that when Shannon finally got to the operating room, they were already cutting me open. I was already open, and they were already taking my organs out, sorry. But in the middle of my C-section, I started to feel this pain and pressure on my chest. It got so bad to the point where I was telling the anesthesiologist I couldn't breathe. He was like, well, if you're talking, you're breathing. And I kind of felt dismissed by the anesthesiologist. And he's like, if you're talking, you can breathe. And I'm like, I understand the premise around that, but I can't breathe. And I feel all this pressure on my chest, my upper chest, not by where the baby was coming out, but by my chest. And I remember looking over at Shannon because honestly, at that time, the only thing I could think of was these stories that went through my head about how Black women were 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth, which is what we're gonna get to. These things kept going through my head, and I just looked at my husband and I was like, don't let me die here. Don't let me die on this table. Like, I need to be here for my kids. I need to be here for you. Like, please don't let me die on this table. The doctor overhears the conversation happening. And the doctor looks over the curtain and she tells the anesthesiologist to do something because I'm telling him I can't breathe. Now, from what I know, this is something that could commonly happen when it comes to anesthesia. But I didn't know that, okay? I'm not an anesthesiologist. All I knew is that I couldn't breathe, all right? She yelled over the curtain take her concern seriously. Listen to her. She's telling you she can't breathe. Help her. Do something, right? Even if it was just to relax me or something to calm me down, she stepped in twice. She stepped in for Asher and she stepped in for me. Which brings me to this video about the maternal death rate and the death rate among Black babies. Chances go down for Black babies to die when they're in the hands of a Black doctor. Now, this doctor was a Black woman, and now this could stem from so many things. And I want to preface this and say this. My doctor, the doctor that delivered Joy, my doctor with Joy, my entire pregnancy, was a Black man. He wasn't on call that weekend. And so the doctor that delivered Joy was a white woman, and she was amazing. She was incredible. She made the experience so awesome. I felt like every time I had a concern, she listened, she addressed it. She was amazing. Obviously, Asher's situation was very different. I went earlier with him. He was very unique in a sense that he wasn't getting oxygen in the womb, and we had to do an emergency C-section, and I didn't have to do that with Joy. I had contractions, the full shebang. As always, I'll post this in the description box. But there was a study done this year, and it said that Black newborn babies who were cared for by Black doctors are more likely to survive than those cared for by white doctors. Now, this is not saying that white doctors are bad or white OBGYNs are bad. I don't believe that, and I preface that with my experience with Joy to say that I don't believe that. I'm just showing the studies. Now, the researchers, when they analyzed that 1.8 million hospital births in Florida actually from 92 to 2015 and found that deaths were fewer by 257 in 100,000 among Black newborns under the care of Black doctors when compared with care by white doctors. And also in the US, Black women are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. Now, there are a lot of things that could be surrounding this. So when Beyonce was pregnant, she revealed that she had preeclampsia, and when she was pregnant with her twins, and the condition left her entire body swollen, and she was confined to bed rest for more than a month before she had a C-section. And now it says that heart disease and stroke are the leading cause of all maternal deaths. And this could be stemmed from things like preeclampsia or just having developed a heart disease during childbirth. But then it says this, and this is what I want to touch on. Some hospitals and healthcare systems have implemented training or implicit and unconscious bias training. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What in the world does unconscious or implicit bias training have anything to do with healthcare or maternity, anything that has to do with birthing kids? And in the days of slavery, if you know anything about the history of gynecology, when gynecology started, they would treat and experiment on Black women. And they would experiment on Black women, and they would tell themselves and other people that Black women had a higher pain tolerance than white women, so they wouldn't have to waste or use the anesthesia on them. These ideologies really stem from the days of slavery, and it trickled down to the point where it's ingrained into our system where there's people that actually think that Black women just feel pain less than white women, and so they don't take them as seriously. This also happened to, like I said, Beyonce, but it also happened to Serena Williams. If you know divorce court, Judge Toller, her daughter-in-law actually died in childbirth. And so this is an issue that doesn't just plague our justice system, but it also, what we would think of our justice system to Black men in a sense of being wrongfully convicted and, being treated unfairly, things like that, which obviously there's a lot of people that are unfortunately in our system that are wrongfully convicted. But I'm just using that as an example. That would be what childbirth is to Black women. Am I or will I be taken seriously? Could a white doctor have addressed those things with Asher? Absolutely. I believe that they could have. However, my and Asher's chances of survival were higher because a Black doctor was in the room. Now, I feel like there are solutions to this, and I don't want to be someone who just talks about these problems and not bring a solution. I think this is why implicit bias training and ridding these ideologies that have been passed on are so important because people's lives are at stake. There are innocent women who have died and continue to die just because their concerns are not addressed. And I believe that that starts at a place where you rid the ideology of this Black person or Black woman is just overreacting. And we have to take and address their concerns seriously, as we would do anybody. Because the reality is this: no one should be mistreated, especially in the hands when you're at your most vulnerable point of childbirth, right? I don't know if anybody who watches this has been through childbirth, but like, if you don't know this, you're pretty vulnerable, okay? In more ways than one. And that should be the place where you shouldn't have to fear for your life in bringing your child into the world. And your concerns should be addressed. You shouldn't have to be bringing life into the world and also fighting for yours. I have talked to some nurses, I've talked to some doctors, and this ideology is going away. Slowly but surely, people are hearing and addressing the concerns of these women. But unfortunately, those things are still there. Obviously, we have research that shows that Black babies just survive more in the hands of Black doctors, but that shouldn't be the case, right? We should be able to go to any doctor, be a part of any program, be at any facility, and have faith that we're going to survive when we walk out of there, especially with our newborn babies in our hands. So like always, I'll put those in the description box. You can read them yourself. Thank you for always liking and subscribing and commenting, and you're amazing. Have a good one. Bye.